before we get into everything going on the rest of this week, we had some news. HB Shizzle seems to be down with the sickness. Fellas, did you hear about it? Did you hear about it? Like, my boy stood up for us, during the preview in your house. He had a, oral produced in regards to social injustice. We're looking at a guy like HBK, who's had a history of like being a dick and standing up for us. What y'all think? What y'all think? We need to get Deshaun or something over here. Like Deshaun pull up. I don't know. What do y'all think?
Yo, I love it, man. I love it. Listen, this is what we talked about in the last episode. When somebody of a different race is not around, when we're not around and they can stick up for us, that says everything. So, to Sean, we have something that we want to say to you. You are invited to the barbecue. You can bring the plates and possibly the corn and maybe the ribs. We respect it.
That's a fact. That's definitely
good old HB Shizzle. Nah, but seriously, man, Sean's done a lot of growth over the last 25 years, man. And but one thing I've always kind of seen from Sean, even when I was a kid, is the fact that when it comes to people of color that he's worked with, he's always, with the exception of how he did Brock's grandmother back in the day, he's always had some form of respect and never really kind of went across the boundaries of, discrimination against other people. But I will say the fact that since being reborn as a Christian and giving his life to God and, love for all, I find this to be very, very, I find it to be great. It shows a true sense of growth in Sean's character over the years. Because we all know he's been, a true bona fide asshole back in the day. And but you can never dispute his talent. But always, as a person, you kind of had to worry about because you wanted to knock his ass out for going over the line a little bit. But now
he represented.
Doing that.
And it's funny, It's funny too, because basically we kind of saw it a little bit in storyline with the shirt that you have. Rest in peace to Shad. That little segment.
Yes, hold on. Shout out to Collar and Elbow for the shirt. I got that off the MVP page, where to get it. You know where to get it. It's called collarandelbow.com, and get the beast, Shad Gaspar. So
yeah, no, but on the real though, we saw it in kayfabe. He was putting Triple H on game. He was like, "We in the deuce down low. We in the deuce down low."
I even that.
Everything he was in the deuce down low.
When back in the day, when he was in his prime, like his apex, he was with Ahmed Johnson and other people of color. So he was all right with some brothers back in the day. So it's just the fact that seeing it, at this climate is just a plus in terms of what we continually have to overcome. So shout out to HB Shizzle for that.
Togetherness is all we need. Togetherness is all we need. Which is,
but also shout out to his wife, because none of this would have happened without Rebecca. Rebecca, we love you. Thank you.
Love you.
You saved that man.
That's true.
Because if it wasn't for you, unfortunately, we probably have more sunny days. You don't want that.
No, we don't. Listen.
His smile would still be lost.
His smile would still be lost, and there will be an OnlyFans page with a couple views. But all I can say is unity, which is something that I could say for Monday Night Raw. A lot of intertwining storylines. We had Charlotte with a women's tag team division, feuding with Asuka. He was feuding with Nia Jax. With Charlotte pulling up the way she did after losing the NXT championship, having that tag team title match, winning via, Asuka basically showing her up, and then later on in the night having the win over her. How did y'all feel about that? I'm going to start with Big E. Yeah, get Big E on this, man.
All right, well, so Charlotte, let's talk the facts. Charlotte lost the NXT title 24 hours ago prior to the show. That's number one fact.
Mm.
The next fact, Charlotte and Asuka, we all know, have great in-ring chemistry, great chemistry, period, all around. They're probably two of the best women to put in the ring together, right now at least. So, being that this storyline, when I first saw it, when I was watching Monday Night Raw, I was like, are they gonna put Charlotte and Asuka together in the tag team? Like, is this gonna be Charlotte's little face turn? I should have known better. No. So Charlotte being there, being teamed up with Asuka, you could already see the animosity building towards their match that was going to happen on later on in the night. Then with Bayley and Sasha coming out, Bayley and Sasha, they're still kind of driving that little wedge in between them to get Sasha's face turn started. Then the Iconics came out in the mix. They were just basically in the middle. They were there just because, the match this Sunday. But what I like from the Charlotte Asuka story is that Charlotte, after she attacked Asuka during that segment, she picked up the Raw Women's title. And she basically was like, yo, I'm coming for this. So don't be surprised if we get a Charlotte versus Asuka match at SummerSlam. But, early prediction, Asuka needs to win over this one because Charlotte's already taken her at WrestleMania and then taking her now at Monday Night Raw, which they had a really good match on Monday Night Raw too, until Nia Jax got involved. But all around, that segment was pretty good. And, Charlotte's going to come back for the title again.
You think in a way, though, like, it kind of undermines the NXT title, because I've been hearing some stuff about that. She lost the title, again, 24 nights before, comes in, and it's like, I'm the queen. I am the queen. And it's like, what? There's no urgency from her to get the title back. At least we don't know till tonight. We're recording this on Wednesday afternoon. But like, is there anything you could say for that? Like losing the NXT Championship title and then pulling up like nothing happened?
That goes to her credit as she's not too, and that's on the writers too, because they should write her to still be worried that she was the NXT division. You know what I mean? They built her up and they put that title on her to elevate the NXT women's division. So she still has to have that attitude about her. She just can't just say, okay, I lost the title, I forget about it, whatever. I'll just pull up to the main roster and I'm going to get the main roster title. Can't do that. That's on the writer's fault. The writers should have wrote her as, listen, I'm still the NXT division. I'm still this women's division overall in WWE. So to that credit, that goes on the writers. But there should have been some sense of urgency. Don't remember if they brought it up during the segment that she lost the title. I think they did. But it was addressed, but it wasn't addressed enough, if that makes sense.
It's true. I will say, though, all that being said, for them to essentially have like a 30-minute women's, non-title match to close off Raw, that's
huge
stuff in my book. That's huge. You know what I'm saying? Do want to switch gears here to Raiders, Profits, and then later on bleeding into the beat. We just gonna call them the Beatdown Clan. We already know
Beatdown Clan 2.0.
Beatdown Clan 2.0. And you have Drew McIntyre. So, we watch Raw. It starts off, they're in this tournament, and they're doing this, decathlon essentially, and they tie up. They still chilling. They still cool. Come on Raw. Fast forward, Drew McIntyre's with them, and they ask him to be a Viking, and then that basically bleeds into this segment where they, as well as, the Street Profits, are basically coming at the Beatdown Clan. And, that's essentially our go-home show for not only the tag team, the Raw Tag Team Champions, but the WWE Tag Team, the WWE Championship. What do we think about that? That whole chain of events connecting and basically how it played out.
The tag titles are up in the air right now, to be honest with you. This is giving me Dean Ambrose United States Championship vibes. It's kind of just like, yeah, it's I hate to say it. That's a bad analogy. I didn't even want to say it. But
so wait, no. Let me ask this question. So there's Dean Ambrose and there's like 04 Trish Stratus There's like
Right.
Cesaro United States Championship.
Right.
Like where are we at here? Like how low we good?
You know what? The Street Profits are so entertaining, so I would put them above the Cesaro United States Championship run. So because they're still entertaining.
Okay.
Me and Randy have said this before. Montez Ford is just, and he showed it. Because the segments, let's be honest, the segments they've been having, these little like Olympic things they've been going on, really hasn't been all that good.
It ain't it. Nah.
But somehow Montez Ford kind of keeps me involved in it. And maybe I'm being a little biased, maybe. But he keeps me just a little bit involved. But as far as the tag team titles go, I would have loved to see a match between these two guys. I think it's time for the Viking Raiders to stop being that, you know, babyface trying to get over funny type of thing and let them be just serious. Let them come back for the title.
You know what? Here's the thing. And you know what? I think Randy's reading my mind with this. So you're saying Viking Raiders should get, mean and serious. I think the Street Profits, especially with the backstory between them and MVP, like coming at them. Beatdown Clan gets a tag team. Beatdown Clan gets a tag team.
Okay.
And they don't have to change their gimmick. They could still be pompous. They could still be, they're like cheery selves, but they just cocky with it. You know what I'm saying? And it's another reason, and it's another avenue to say like, hey, Bianca Belair, pull up, because she's great as a heel. So what does the floor think about that? That scenario. If you look in the crystal ball 2 months later, you see a heel Street Profits versus a kick-ass version of Viking Raiders.
Before I defer to the GOAT, I like to say this. If that does happen, not only is just the BDC 2.0, you replace Kenny King with Montez Ford. I ain't saying Samoa Joe is, Dawkins, but I like the schematics of what MVP is trying to bring to Monday Night Raw, and especially with Joe on the sideline. Now, with the tag team situation that's going on right now, there's no other tag team that you can think to take the titles off them, to be honest with you. They're like the only two tag teams there. So that's the only reason why they're going through what they're going through right now. With the Revival being now Fear the Revolt to AEW, aside from, there's no legit tag teams right now. And it's kind of tough to kind of build on that when you don't have enough teams to kind of just make this a competition. And it sucks, but that's the climate we're in right now. But I'm all for the BDC 2.0 though. And Bianca Belair, come through, girl, come through. We need y'all here. We need her. So without further ado, future GOAT, floor is yours.
All right, so I'm gonna address like some things y'all brought. First off, when it comes to the Street Profits and Viking Raiders thing, I gotta say, like, their stuff has been entertaining, but the decathlon to me sucked. Like, I was not a fan of it. I did not like it at all. I thought it was kind of cheesy and how everything is going. I agree with you guys saying that the Viking Raiders should be a threat. I'm assuming, like, now they're tied again. I don't know where they plan on going with this, but the Viking Raiders going back to being a legit threat is cool. Like, I'd be set for that. When it comes to the Street Profits joining MVP, at first I was looking at, when I heard just, I was like, I'm not sure about that. But then I'm picturing in my mind the 4 of these men just standing in the ring, and I'm like, yo, this is a fire group. Like, we want to talk about black excellence? Like, son, this is a club. I would rock with this club. Street seeing Montez Ford, like Angelo Dawkins, he looks like somebody that could be a heel anyway. Montez Ford, I don't know if he could be a serious heel, but he could be like kind of like somebody brought up Kenny King. 'Cause I remember Kenny King, it wasn't that he was a serious heel. He was just like a douche about, like, we knew that he knew he was great, and he always showed it, and he just like pumped up his chest like, yeah, I know I'm good. So, and just watch what I'm about to do here. So he got that cocky heel thing about him. And I think Montez Ford, that's the kind of thing he could do. But I ain't gonna hold y'all. That beatdown clan idea looks pretty fire, man. I'm thinking in my head, you got the Street Profits as tag champs, maybe MVP. Even if he doesn't want to get a title, he can just manage all the guys, and Bobby Lashley eventually becomes WWE champion, because I don't think he's beaten Drew at Backlash, and I hope he doesn't. I still think Drew's WWE championship reign right now is still in the little early stages. I don't want him to just automatically lose it right now because, again, this man's the chosen one for a reason. He's got to ride this wave for a while. At least if he loses it at SummerSlam, fine. But even if like, I would drag this on because I want to know how Drew McIntyre can do if he had like a long stint as champion. Kind of like when I know Randy doesn't like him, but like when John Cena had that over 300-day stint as WWE champion. I thought it was cool. You know, he showed that he could be the top guy at his company, and I think that title reign really helped him. So with Drew McIntyre, I'm not saying he gets a 365-day title reign, but at least long enough that people can look at it and be like, if they ever wanted, to put the championship on him again one day, I could definitely rock with this because Drew's got everything. Okay, he's got his promo ability has been great. I especially love the fact that he says that the writers are giving him leeway into what he can say, and as you're hearing his promos on Raw, you can kind of tell he's getting some leeway here in what he's saying because usually with a lot of these champions they be cheesy when they talk. But with Drew,
he ad-libs a lot. He ad-libs a lot.
Exactly. Like with Drew, you feel the emotion, you feel what he's saying is accurate, and he's feeling himself right now. He's like, you know what, man, I'm not worried. But basically, this whole thing is I'm not worried about you, Bobby Lashley. I know a Claymore kick could take you out because I've been doing it for months now, so I know I can take, which I am perfectly fine with. Again, he's still a good baby face, and if he wants to be a little cocky with his shtick, so be it. So be it, man. Ain't nothing wrong with a baby face trying to be cocky. Just look at Austin. But I like this, but Drew McIntyre retains that title at Backlash, and the Beatdown Clan thing idea you guys got, I would rock with that. I'd rock with that heavy because that is a sweet idea that I'm thinking in my head right now. That is sweet.
I could see a world because it's worked the gimmick in my mind that Montez Ford could have right now. Ironically enough, is an AEW Scorpio Sky, where it's just I'm just nice. I just happen to be now he's face, but I just happen to be heel. But I'm just nice. I'm nice. I served in the military. I can do a frog splash from the sky, parachute my ass, and I'll still land with a side mount. He's that type of night. So I definitely think
if you want a great example of Montez Ford becoming a single star in the future, just watch that match that he had with Seth Rollins on Raw. That shit was a freaking masterpiece. Those two.
That's solidified.
When eventually we get a feud for these two, man, I'm gonna be drinking mad water. I'm gonna be jumping all the down.
Wait. But me and Gene though, was it the greatest match ever? Was it the greatest match? Because we may just get, because if it was, it may be eclipsed this weekend because we also had a segment promoting that Peep Show. Christian coming back on the show. Really wish I was pulled up for this segment. But Christian pulling up, basically puts Edge on game. And Randy Orton just comes out, gives him the Vin Diesel pose where, he's halfway turned, but not really, just looking like this. Vin Diesel does this every movie.
Yeah.
Same bit. How do we like the segment? How do you think they worked it for the go-home show?
That was kind of emotional because I was like, damn, son, how you gonna get Edge like that, son? When you brought the mom up, I was like, oh, hold on now. See, that's a little sensitive, man. That's a little sensitive, man. And it's been a while since we've seen someone. I'm glad Christian did it. And if Ty was here, he probably would elaborate on it since he's a big Christian fan. But I honestly thought Randy Orton was gonna do something really, really crazy to ignite this. Because he's like, all right, backstage. I was like, the way he was posed up, I could have sworn, in the back of my mind, I could have sworn that he had Beth held hostage doing something, trying to ignite this feud even further. But it's so far, man, that whole thing between Edge and Christian at that time, it was a very emotional thing just to get the emotion out of Edge. And Edge needed that, but at the same time, just dang, it got you in your feels, man.
How your best friend E for you, dogs? You know what? Just go ahead. You're Big E, man. Big E. Just go.
Yo, the segment to me, just like Randy said, man, it pulled the emotions out of Edge to get him hyped for this match, as they're calling it the greatest wrestling match ever, which hopefully that kind of lives up to the hype, maybe. But I like the fact that Orton. I honestly, I thought Orton's dialogue was great. I loved it. I loved everything that he said. He got straight to the point. Everything was right where it needed to be to get this match on track. But I honestly thought that it was taped. I thought, just like Randy did, I thought Orton was going to come out, you know, RKO. There's going to be a brawl at least, because there hasn't really been much interaction between the two of them. This is supposed to be, you know, your second match between the two. And I'm pretty sure it might be a rubber match if, you know, all goes well. But there hasn't been really any interaction between the two. I don't know if they did that on purpose. I'm not too sure what the deal with that one was.
I think it's on
Having
purpose.
Chris,
I think it's on
you
purpose.
think it's on purpose?
Yeah.
Having Christian there was a good idea. I mean, you know, your best friend, who knows you better than your best friend, you know, pulls the emotion out of you, you know, brings up your mom, even called him Adam. I don't know if anybody caught that.
Nah,
We all caught that. We all caught that.
Yeah, called him quick. He was like, yo, Adam. Looked in his face like, yo. So, you know, hopefully the match lives up to the hype, though.
I'm not saying it won't live up to the hype, because I'm pretty sure them two together will have a great match. My thing is, it doesn't need the moniker greatest wrestling match ever to do so.
I mean, listen. You know, once the Charlie Caruso bit happened and it turned into, this can potentially be the greatest match ever.
And
Yeah, I'm not gonna hold you, man. When she said that, I tagged her on Instagram in one of WWE's posts in the comments. I said, Charlie, like, you fine as fuck, but you good? Like, talking about all this shit. Like, hell, if you want, me and you could sit down during the social distancing shit and we could watch some matches right now. And we could start with Drew McIntyre versus Seth Rollins and Money in the Bank and work our way out there. Because you talking about greatest wrestling match. Like, obviously, she said possibly. So I wasn't gonna hold it to the fire like that. But then WWE started posting it out. Yo, this is the greatest.
This is the greatest show.
Right? Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. I think that song has me laughing every time I hear him doing that, bro. But
I think of Chippendales.
yeah, but like you guys talked about the Edge and Christian thing. I liked it because like you guys mentioned it was personal. It was between best friends. It's like only a best friend can get you to feel that kind of way towards like having this match. Christian just shot him down like, bro, I don't even think in your prime you could have had the best wrestling match of all time. Now, I mean, I was listening to Christian. I was like, I ain't gonna hold you, Edge. You know, I like you, but there's some truth into what Christian's saying here. Because there's never been a match that you've had that anybody has regarded as the greatest wrestling match of all time, or even one of the greatest wrestling matches of all time.
I wouldn't go as far to say that. Wait, ho.
No. I'm good.
Okay,
hold on. The one, okay, fine. The one I will give you is when he fought The Undertaker at WrestleMania. That was a great match. That was a great match. I give you that. But to say one of the greatest, I mean, come on, man. Like, I could put, son, like even when I see this tagline, every time they say greatest wrestling match ever, I'm saying to myself, I mean, did AJ stop wrestling all of a sudden? Like, he's still here, right? Like, bro, you know, so many matches that my guys put on TV, on pay-per-view, and, like, we just gonna do this right now? But I will give them this. I have no problem with them saying it because it drives clout. Mad people are talking about this now. They're not everybody. A lot of people are going to be tuned in to watch Randy Orton versus Edge so they could see is this going to be the greatest wrestling match of all time? Is it going to be that good? Like, hell, we already know. I'm pretty sure the AEW folks are going to be watching this, like the Kenny Omegas and the Cody Rhodes. They're going to sit down there because we know they watch WWE. Even if they tell you they're lying, they watching WWE and they're going to watch this. And I'm pretty sure if this thing flops, I guarantee it. I put bread on it. A lot of these AEW folks are going to start coming out here, especially Tommaso Ciampa, will come out saying, what is this? You call this the greatest wrestling match of all time? This sounds like another Randy Orton match to me. You know what I mean?
I was going to get into that.
Before we get into that, though, I just want to say two things. One, this tagline that they have, I was so confused on it because it was supposed to be only just for the Orton and Edge match. Now they're making it for, like, the whole pay-per-view. So now it's like you got a
tagline. It's tagline.
Yeah, but then you put the tagline on the whole pay-per-view. Now it's like every match has to live up to that expectation.
Braun Strowman versus Miz and Morrison is going to be the greatest match.
It's going to be the greatest match ever. They're calling this Backlash, the greatest wrestling match ever. You think Miz and Morrison versus Braun Strowman is going to be one of those great matches? We're going to be talking about this.
You saying it like that, but I'm looking at it like it could have been worse. Imagine if they had imagine if Dana Brooke had a match at Backlash and they put that tagline. So I'd have been laughing. I'd have died with laughing, bro.
Hey, so the next thing after that, before we move on, the next thing after that is this: that not only the tagline itself, but just like you said, if this doesn't live up to the hype, do you know how many jokes are going to be made on Being the Elite that I watch faithfully? They are going to trash this if this doesn't even come close. Being the Elite on YouTube with Kenny Omega, they're going to trash this shit. They're going to trash it. I know they watch WWE. Of course they do. They still got friends that work in that promotion. They have talent that they're actually scouting. They're going to
they've always been watching WWE.
Of course. But they're going to trash this if it's not anywhere near close to being a smidget of good.
Yeah, but you see, if your boys, the Young Bucks, start trashing this match, let them be known that two can play that game. So they better watch their mouths. Kenny Omega is the only. Now listen, Kenny Omega is the only person from Being the Elite that if he trashes this, he has a legit reason to. Because even though I don't pay attention to a lot of what this guy does, but there's some good parts. There's some matches that he's had, like the two or three matches with Okada. Because I don't watch outside WWE. I don't know if it's 2 or 3 matches he's had with Okada, but the one with Chris Jericho twice, like he's the only one in that whole faction that actually has a legit gripe to shit on this match if it doesn't turn out the greatest wrestling match ever. Nobody else from that Being the Elite group can say anything.
Look, I agree with you, and as far as the Young Bucks go, they don't have no say right now because. They did just have no say. We'll get into that when we get into AEW.
Yeah, sure. All right. What's up? What's next?
I mean, like you basically hinted at Tommaso Ciampa coming at Randy Orton's neck. Because I don't know. I don't know if I believe Randy Orton started it with the thigh slapping comment.
Yeah, because
Ciampa came at
you know how these NXT wrestlers are, bro. They be slapping their legs way too much when they do matches.
I found it funny. We all found it funny.
Yeah,
it was 2 guys that literally live on Twitter and clap back at everybody who comes at them. It was great. Hey, Triple H, Road Dogg, Sean, if you're watching this, thank you, 1. And 2, hey, bring Orton to NXT, please. Bring him to NXT so I can see this match. I really would love to see that. I don't know about anybody else, but
it's funny. It's funny because
Orton,
whatchamacallit, there was rumors. I know not a lot of people like to get in the rumor mill, but the rumors were that Vince McMahon caught wind of them sparring back and forth, and he was just like, "Hey, listen, I ain't doing this not without my say so." So he was basically pissed off that Orton and Tommaso was essentially working themselves into an angle.
No, JJ, no. Tommaso Ciampa worked himself into this. Randy Orton just gave a simple comment. Tommaso Ciampa didn't have to respond because he doesn't even follow anybody.
As a locker room leader
on Twitter. So
as a locker room leader, feels obligated to. It would be funny if Johnny Gargano sent it instead, because he be doing it. He has at least 5 thigh slappers a day. I don't. His leg must be beat red. I don't know what he puts it through. He's a masochist. I don't understand. Listen, I could go, till the cows come home in regards to that. But
but you see, look, let me give my thoughts on this, and then I'm gonna let Randy go after me. Yeah. So when it comes to Tommaso Ciampa and Randy on Twitter feud, I loved it. I loved every interaction they got. Even Randy Orton's wife got involved. Even I don't know why. Kim,
she's stand for him. She's stand for him.
Stay in your lane. Stay in your lane. This ain't about you. No. She's staying in her lane.
Equal rights, man.
I don't see Tommaso Ciampa's wife saying anything. So we're gonna keep the wives out of it.
Listen. Let me tell you something. Right now. His wife was a diehard fan of this dude. So she was a wrestling fan. If she was talking about the shit, If
she's
we're
diehard
talking
fan
about
too.
the shit, then she's entitled to talk about whatever shit she can talk about. It just so happens that she has the clout.
All right, JJ, teachers though. But
I'm just
anyway, like I
saying,
was saying, I love this Twitter feud.
She
This
loved the
thing,
dick, so she supported. You gotta, you gotta support it.
Biggie
Gotta support
suggested
it,
Randy
man.
Orton come to NXT. No, Biggie. How about Tommaso Ciampa makes his way to the main roster? Because
He's not
when
coming
I
to the
heard,
main roster.
because when I saw the because when I saw the exchange, like Tommaso Ciampa, what he said, about all the Randy Orton matches and shit, and then Randy Orton saying his thing. Honestly, like I was telling y'all in the chat, if this was me, I would have came up with I would have said something. I would have said something more savage because it would have referred to the fact that Tommaso Ciampa is too coward to come to the main roster. But I will say this though: if this match is gonna happen, it should. With Big E's thing, I would not mind seeing it happen on NXT. But the problem is, I don't think we will ever see Randy Orton at NXT. I think we saw him years back, and then he's never been on there since. Even during the Survivor Series stuff, he wasn't even there. So the Survivor Series build last year with them invading each other's brands and shit, he wasn't even at NXT during that time. So I don't think we're ever gonna see that. The only time this will ever happen is if Tommaso Ciampa comes to the main roster. And with Vince McMahon being upset, of course he's upset because he didn't write this shit. It's these two boys going at it because it's pure, it's authentic. And now, even though the fans have been wanting to see these two go at each other since I wanted to see them go at each other since I think last year, because I'm pretty sure they got into some Twitter beef the year before about something. I forgot what it was, but I know they got into a beef prior. And I was just looking at this like, yo, first of all, you two together would be a fantastic match, okay? Because Tommaso Ciampa will motivate Randy's ass to perform at a 4 or 5 star level, okay? Because I know when it comes to Randy Orton, he needs to be motivated to perform at that high level. Tommaso Ciampa is always on that 100%. So if this match is going to happen, I wouldn't mind seeing it on NXT, but it'll most likely happen on the main roster. As long as Tommaso Ciampa can get his head out of his ass, just come to Raw, SmackDown, and just be there. Even though I can get why he's concerned, because if I'm going to be straight up honest with you, I don't think he would have a chance on the main roster. I think unless he goes to Raw, because Paul Heyman watches NXT. Paul Heyman likes the guys up there. That's why with Big E, when it comes to Undisputed Era, if they ever showed up on Raw, trust me, you wouldn't have to worry about nothing, man. Paul Heyman's love those guys. They good. You ain't got to worry about that. Tommaso Ciampa, if he's coming, he'd have to show up on Raw. And if Randy Orton, if he's still on Raw by the time Ciampa shows up, let's do it. I'm with it. I'll watch it.
Before Randy takes the floor, Gene, real quick, I will say this, it's more of a possibility now that Tommaso might come up, only because look where they're doing all the shows at now in the Performance Center.
Yeah.
So there's more of a chance he might come to the main roster, but don't be surprised once things kind of go back to normal. It's all right, man. I did my duty. I'm going back to NXT. So it's a possibility.
He did it before.
I'll leave it at that.
He goes back.
He's done it before. He's done it before.
Yeah.
No.
Oh, you mean when he fought The Miz?
Yeah, when he fought The Miz, when they fought on SmackDown, when they did that whole invasion angle thing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
They got called up for like 2 weeks, and then he got injured. Because of that NXT. Yeah. Randy, the floor is yours.
Randy, what's up?
On the real,
Randy, let me hear what you think,
I
bro.
love this feud. I love the tweefing that's going on, man. Not a beef. It's all this tweefing going around. Between my namesake, aka Randy Randy Orton, aka he was my GOAT generation because of his skill and whatnot. Against Tommaso Ciampa, who I also love, the Sicilian Destroyer, even though
Thug Walk. I call him Thug Walk.
Even though the aforementioned Karrion Kross killed him on Sunday. Let's get into the nitty-gritty with this one. I love the fact that they're trying to like work this themselves, because sometimes Vince don't see the forest from the trees even now. I ain't going front. Orton has a legitimate gripe with it, and it is legit because there's too much thigh slaps going on. There's too much super kicks in matches. Like over the last decade or so, in the independent circuit, it's a lot. Like, don't get me wrong, and this is Japan too. There are marks for like super kick galore, crazy moves, a lot of thigh slapping. Like, no move is sacred anymore. And the one thing that WWE was notorious for was for savoring moves when it counts. Like, if you get somebody in the DDT for Jake the Snake Roberts back in the day, that's it. Your ass is out. If Shawn Michaels sets you up for the Super Jimmy, you are out. Now you see these moves that could be used to finish during, like, before the finish, and it's always either a near fall, countless near falls, or they don't win the match. It doesn't make any sense because, like, in wrestling matches, you can tell a story. If you say for a 10-minute average, you tell your story. I'm not trying to see like 15 super kicks per match, and especially here in the thigh slaps, because it's not going to be as special. The only time you see a thigh slap is if it's the finality, if you're going to kick somebody's head off. Like when Shawn Michaels came back in 2007, when Orton was like, became the WWE champion, and Shawn Michaels came back with the beard and all that stuff. Orton was scared and this and the third. When Shawn Michaels super kicked the life out of Orton's jaw, and he thigh slapped doing that, that is what I'm talking about. Not like 4 or 5 times during a match, and then like, you know, like it's too much. Orton has a legitimate gripe, and even Shawn Michaels said this 20 years ago. Like he foretold this, saying that sometimes in a match, less is more.
It's about RVD. He said it about RVD. Yeah.
Less is more. If you slow it down, you know, if you slow your game down, we know what's in your arsenal. Which is why sometimes, okay, we gave John Cena shit for his 5 moves of doom, or Hulk Hogan the same way. But sometimes less is more. Because when you put people, because when you get people in that move that you're looking for, that, man, it counts. Not when it's like you see every freaking match. Like at some point, you're supposed to basically savor your best stuff for when it's for the blow-up match. You know, you don't put it in the first match of a big feud or the second match. If it's for the rubber match or like the dandada of the match you're trying to do, guy, that's when you pull up all stops. We're seeing all stops in almost every match. I'm not saying that it's a bad thing, but it's too much of it. It doesn't give you the special feeling of the show, which is why when you have independent marks, and yes, I'm looking at you independent marks online. All right, you know this ain't scripted. This is a shoot right now. This for the independent marks that always say, "Yo, you know, it's a great match. It's a great match." When I'm looking at these matches, I'm like, okay, this is a great spot, but dude gave him like 15 calf kicks, thigh slaps, 12 destroyers. It's not special anymore. It's a fucking match. It's not special. And for the AEW marks, and I love AEW, but for these AEW marks who follow the young bucks who think they're the God's green gift to the earth, Generation E, them sons of bitches, you know, they're not the greatest tag team in the world. They're not even my top 5.
Nope.
Period. Doing all these
right now,
moves time after time. Nothing you do in a match is special. Every week you do the same BS. It's not special. And then, of course, you see, you know, the balding, jacked up, bloated up Dave Meltzer, you know, with a heart on because you see all these shits happen every single match. It's not special. It's not special anymore. They got to stop that, which is why Orton has a legitimate gripe with this. And I agree with Orton 1,000%. Like, even Finn Balor slowed up a little bit because it's not always about showing how much you can do in a 10-minute frame. If you're trying to tell a story, make sure the story is fit for the show that you're on. And if it's a big show, that's when you pull out all stops. Not every show's a big show. You can't keep outdoing other shows doing all these crazy-ass moves. For AEW, they have leeway because they're a new show trying to establish themselves on TV. I get that. But if you're on the independent circuit doing this night after night after night after night, it starts to lose its feel. It's not as special anymore. It really is.
That's why y'all still there.
What story are you telling? And in WWE, I see this too. In NXT, and I love NXT too.
Mm-hmm.
You see this, and it's nothing special anymore. At some point, if you slow it down just a little bit, if you dial it back a bit, like we know you can go in the ring. The match quality is great on all platforms, on all promotions. But the only thing, if you want to separate yourself, is how you tell your story. And
that's kind of, yeah.
And Randy Orton tells his story better than any other. I tell you one thing, and I'll go a step further. Randy Orton, Tyler, Randy Orton tells his story better than most of AEW. If we're talking if we're talking telling stories in a ring, the slow pace, because if you're trying to evoke an emotion out of a crowd, good guy, bad guy, or indifferent, if you want us to tell a story, there's no one better right now than Randy Orton. In the words of Deontay Wilder, till this day, that's what he does, is tell stories. And you hear Undertaker saying the same shit in his documentary. And if you're not taking heed to that advice, like, what are you really doing?
Yeah, we have Kid Dynamite on hand. We're
what's up, bro?
He was waiting for you, man. He was waiting for you.
Yeah,
I was waiting for you.
He was waiting.
I'm late.
It's all good. We discussing the Ciampa Orton thing.
I kind of ran.
I'll just quickly say my piece. All the sentiments that Randy just explained, I completely agree. You know, it's why, you know, we had the review show and I basically went on a limb mentioning the fact that I consider Finn Balor top 3. You know, honestly, I could consider him for one in regards to wrestlers right now, because there's a certain element of storytelling that he does, compounded with the skill set that he brings to the table, that not much can bring. And AJ Styles fits into this category as well.
Yeah,
For
bro.
all the people who, you know, are in or who are like in the indies and come to a WWE and want to know how to storytell, I tell them, you know what, look at Payback, I believe 2016, Sami Zayn, Kevin Owens, because that was a match where they were like, okay, we could legit spam every finisher we have, which to a certain extent they did. But when it was time to do the leg slappage and the whole thing, Sami Zayn did the haluva kick, held him by the neck, looked at him, went back, did the haluva kick. And it basically evoked an emotion that, honestly, the next match, I couldn't even focus because I was still thinking about that. So I believe that it's an element that is still lost today in the general scheme of things. And I completely agree. Kid Ty, what's your thoughts on it real quick?
First of all, I don't even know what we've been talking about. I just came in so late. How late am I? Like, how far?
We went past the question segment.
halfway through. Pretty much just talking about just the whole Ciampa team Ciampa versus Team Gargano. Team Orton versus
Kind of
Team.
Survivor Series?
No.
No. The Twitter
Basically, like we were explaining the situation. Yeah, the Twitter thing, and you know, it kind of, you know, divulged into like which side are you on, which Randy. Before you came on, he had his old rant.
Randy just ethered this whole episode.
I mean, I'm pretty sure Randy probably said what I was gonna say. Like, it's
Say it anyway.
Okay.
Say it anyway.
Real quick. Yeah, go ahead.
Randy Orton and Tommaso Ciampa. Okay, so it's ironic because they both do hanging DDTs. Tommaso Ciampa is one of the better characters on television, and because of the position that he's in on TV, all through his own merit, you know, he's for a long time earned the right to say a lot of what he said, right? But he's very much more skewed to the current like style of like being more in the moment than worrying about the overall story. Because a lot of the stuff that people remember about Ciampa and in pro wrestling in general is moments. That's true. So for a lot of people, it's like, oh, if you make the moment, then what's the problem? And the problem, the way I kind of put it is like, this is an art form. This is a sport, but it's also an art form. And the art of storytelling is very subjective to most people. But the overall deal is like, there's a certain way you get the most out of a story. Anybody can get a reaction. Like, getting reactions aren't hard in the modern era if you do something awesome, right? How to get the 100% out of a moment to get the best possible reaction is part of the game. It's part of learning how to be a true and proper pro wrestler. And there are very few people who can do that. nowadays. A lot of those guys have left. There are plenty of people who can do it, but may not choose to do it that way because they have a different mindset, i.e. Gargano and Ciampa themselves. They could definitely do it, but they have their own mindset and way of going about it. No one can really do it like Randy Orton. There are very few wrestlers who can tell a story like him. And people confuse storytelling as like storytelling and wrestling are two different things. They're not. They're not. I don't know if mutually exclusive is the right term here, but like, it's not like it's not like they don't flow into each other. You can have a phenomenal professional wrestling match with a story behind it, where the athleticism and the story elements are balanced out, or hell, it could be even more wrestling based but more story. But it has to be logical. And a lot of Gargano's matches aren't that logical. So when he put out that tweet saying, well, you know, I found a way to put my daughter to sleep Randy Orton matches, it's like, just because something's more exciting doesn't mean it's better. You know what I mean? It doesn't necessarily mean it's better. Like, we can sit here and talk about how exciting the Attitude Era was as an era, and there were a lot of foundational elements that the Attitude Era had that were awesome. But if you're talking in terms of logic, there are a lot of things in the Attitude Era that logically didn't make sense, but we just enjoyed it because it kept us hype in that era too, right? Like, look at the Ruthless Aggression era. Ruthless Aggression was a lot more logical. Now, I'm not saying it was any better. Like, there are elements of it that were better, but I'm not saying it's overall the greatest example of logic. But Ruthless Aggression gets a lot of credit for being a very balanced era in terms of athleticism, in terms of storytelling, in terms of feuds. You wanted shoot style angles, you had Matt and Edge, and that's just one example. You wanted great professional wrestling during Ruthless Aggression, go back and watch Royal Rumble 2003 with Kurt Angle and Chris Benoit. Hell, watch any of their matches from that period. You know, everybody was on one, both literally and figuratively. This was a time that had a lot of balance, and a lot of that came from a mix of storytelling and athleticism, which unfortunately every other era, it seems like if you put those two on a chart, it would skew either one way where it's more storytelling based like in the 80s, right? Or more athletic like it is now. There's nothing wrong. The problem that people have is that, like, the old heads keep telling you you're doing it wrong without actually explaining it explaining how to make it make sense, right? And then the newer generation's like, well, we're getting reactions. People remember us. We're making merch. We're doing this and that. What are we doing wrong? Like, how is what we're doing any worse than what you guys did? You know? And it's true. And it's not like both sides have an argument, but I'd have to go with Orton on this one because having that balance type of style works in any era. It can get a reaction at any period. And if done correctly, there's a higher chance that if you put that balanced style at any point on a wrestling card, people will get hyped for it because you'll know how to build the story right to get people to react again. You'll know how to get yourself out of a rut if it's a dead period. You know what I mean? So I think the balanced style that Orton does, where it's a little bit more skewed to the old school, but he does mix it up. He's shown plenty of examples of that in the 2010s alone, i.e. Christian and Daniel Bryan series, right? Where he can do that style and adapt and bring out the best in his opponent, or have his opponent bring out the best in him, or they just work cohesively to put out a great product. I have to go Randy Orton. And it's very hard for me to vote in Ciampa's favor when this man be dropped on his neck on everything, get right back up and do a move. It's just like, I'm not even trying to be an asshole here. I'm being serious.
It's adrenaline.
Not adrenaline. If I get dropped on my neck once, I ain't getting up for shit. I'm gonna just say that right now. You can't make that argument with me. So
you know
that's how I feel about it.
You know I'm kidding. You know I'm kidding. I do want to shift gears here to one of his counterparts is his NXT cohorts, the NXT champion Adam Cole. Recently they've got I know whatchamacallit. He's in the news for his contract basically being I believe 18 months is the time frame where he has time left on his deal. And tonight he'll be facing Dexter Lumis. Dexter Lumis. Guys, what are our thoughts?
Is it Wednesday already?
Huh?
Is it Wednesday already?
It is.
Yeah, it is Wednesday. We are live and recording on Wednesday.
Yeah, and Gene already had his that moment last week with John Russo.
Yo, F this quarantine, man. I don't know what day it is no more.
That's a fact. That's a fact. The only reason why we know is because, just bills and errands. That's essentially it. But
Oh, it was Tuesday.
for Adam Cole, you know, they have not come to terms to a deal. If you're WWE, what do you do? How quick do you do it? And like, you know, in regards to an offer, are you doing long term, short term with them? What you doing?
Oh, wait. UE guy right down there. You got it.
Oh,
This is your
Yeah,
guy.
Biggie, take us home.
Go ahead, yo. All right, so basically, this is my thing with Adam Cole and the whole AEW situation. He has more than a year on his contract right now. That's a fact. So now the thing, when it comes down to it, is what are you going to offer him? He's proven that he is probably one of the best up-and-coming stars in NXT right now. He's been proven that he's probably been one of the best NXT champions, if not the best, which is arguably, you know, for argument's sake, he can be one of the best NXT champions. Now, do you offer him more money to stay in NXT, or do you bring him up and offer him more money? And now this is where backstage politics comes into play as well. We all know that NXT does not make main roster money. They make fairly enough, but it's not main roster money. And Adam Cole is going to be a big draw. He's going to be a main event guy if he isn't already. So do you bring him up and then offer him the big contract? Or do you keep him in NXT with and treat him and put him basically on a pedestal and give him the big time money? And then after that, you have gripes from all the other NXT stars who are saying, well, I'm just as good as he is.
Tag me in.
Or I can, yo, go ahead, bro.
Tag
Go
me
ahead.
in.
Go ahead, partner.
To add on to that, I think they're going to give him the money regardless. It doesn't matter about whether they give him the money while he's in NXT or on the main roster. They're going to give him the money, and he's going to do fairly well because of the sole reason when you're protected, because he's an asset you don't want to get away, and he's a certain kind of star that not just if Triple H likes you, because it's enough if Triple H likes you and grooms you, that's one thing. But if Stephanie also likes you as well, that's a huge hit, because if the daughter likes you as well, that can carry a lot with Vince in terms of how to basically book you when they call you on the main roster. With everything going on SmackDown, I'm not sure he's going to go to SmackDown, even though that's me and Mean Gene would definitely say, yo, going on SmackDown is going to be a party. But if you want a star in the making, even though Raw already has enough, they're going to bring him to Raw because Vince likes building stars that he can basically have his hands on. And Adam Cole is going to be one of those guys. And assuming you bring the Undisputed Era with him, which is definitely going to be a formality, that's going to carry Raw, you know, for some time. As long as you don't run them to the ground, albeit. So yeah, but that's basically what I feel about that.
Guys trying to tag in. What you thinking?
I'm gonna tag Tyler in. I tag you in.
All right.
Ha!
Slap. All right.
Thigh slap.
What you call it? There are so many factors in this that, you know, we're talking about contracts, we're talking about this and that. But it's very interesting because Adam Cole has been in NXT for about 2 years, I believe. Like we're approaching 2 years, and there's not much else you can do. I don't think he's Freebird ruled the tag team championship, so he might not be a tag champion, but he's basically sniffed every piece of gold down there. Any storyline in a major sense that you could do with him, he has interacted with all of those big stars in one way, shape, or form. So in terms of keeping him to a contract, you know, you have to give him something fulfilling. The money, yes, does matter, but at the same time, you'd imagine Adam Cole is one of the higher paid people in NXT. You'd imagine that Adam Cole also, it's not all about the money for him, because you also have to remember that I believe his fiance or his wife is also in AEW as well. So the fact that Adam Cole is in this weird sweet spot where it's like you basically have to cater to me no matter what, because if you let me leave with as much as you've built me up, on your show and made me one of the main faces on your show, to the point where you had me beating guys like, Daniel Bryan on SmackDown. The fact that you had me going toe to toe against a lot of these other names, and with the NXT invasion, like, people know what NXT is. It's not like they have as much of a recognition with it as SmackDown and Raw? No, but it's not like anyone would miss Adam Cole. And I don't mean miss Adam Cole as in, like, him leaving, but it's not like anyone would miss the fact that they know who he is, because he was one of the prominent people in the invasion as well. So even if you're not watching NXT, you've heard of him and you've seen what he can do just off the Bryan win alone, even if it was a while ago, because this is a "what have you done for me lately" type business. Now, you also got to keep in mind, him being on the main roster right now is actually one of the safer places he could be, in a sense, because the current climate of the WWE, we don't have a crowd. WWE is not, they're focused on getting ratings, but they've also settled with the fact that, like, not a lot of people are going to be watching the product at this time because it's not the same as it is, with the lack of crowd, with the lack of venue. And that has prompted them to make and take a lot of risks in pushing people that they normally would not have the confidence to push when they have these giant crowds, because they know they'd lack a reaction. This is an impromptu rebuilding phase for the rosters, which would allow somebody like Adam Cole to really showcase what he could do. This is sort of like, it's like every show is in developmental, in a sense, where it's like everybody, you still have your big names, but it feels like they're trying to buy time until they get back to the bigger stages, which allows for a lot of talents to get shine that they couldn't before, i.e. Apollo, So a guy like Adam Cole mixing it with those guys and having these great matches would draw more interest in what's already been a plagued show the past couple months. And then when they come back to the big crowds, he would have a bigger enough following, because more people would know who he is, because they still rank up at least 1 million something viewers, right? And if he's doing lit things like he's doing in NXT, then when the crowds come in and they're all hyped and ready to come back because they've just been inside, the reactions are going to be big. They're going to be at least teetering around the area of night after WrestleMania level. They're going to be within range of that. So having someone like Adam Cole come up and you just hear the "Adam Cole, baby," right off the bat, if you're a new fan who hasn't checked in the Raw in a while, or SmackDown, and you see that, you're going to be like, what's all the hype behind this guy? I haven't seen him in a minute. You know what I mean? So Adam Cole is really in a sweet spot where if he went to the main roster, they'd have no choice but to, unless they purposely buried him, they'd have no choice but to build him up, because they kind of need that right now. And then the fact that they can't afford to lose him, because remember when Matt Riddle, like, there were rumors about Matt Riddle like a year ago or so trying to leave because of the heat that he got. And I can imagine Triple H was trying to keep Matt Riddle at all costs, because when you invest so much in these independent guys, which is why NXT is such a confusing area to be in, because it's developmental, but it's not developmental, and you put all your faith in these guys, and they have a big enough platform that if you take them, that if one of them were to leave right after NXT, right, like a Matt Riddle, and go to a show like AEW, which is very much more catered to the hardcore audience, trying to build on a mainstream audience, it's like you're stabbing yourself in the stomach. You know what I mean? You're kind of hurting yourself doing that. So I think if I'm WWE, I'd try to sign him to a long enough deal that he can't leave from a business standpoint for a while, 4-year, 5-year deal, whatever multi-year deal that they have. And if they're smart, even if they're not going to push him, which I hate to say that, because how they've been the past couple of years, signing people to long-term deals and then so they can't leave, right? From a business standpoint, you have to, because if you don't, this is the most pushed guy in NXT in the past couple of years, outside of Tommaso and Gargano, who were already there. Like, in terms of people who debuted and got pushed off the jump, Adam Cole's in the top 5 of most pushed to the moon NXT stars.
Mm-hmm.
You can't let him leave. You let him leave with all that traction, all the things he's done, all the different ranges he's shown, especially with the cinematic match over the weekend. He's going to be a valuable asset to AEW, and AEW doesn't care about size.
Yeah.
Darby Allin's a thing, so they're going to make him a top guy. They're going to make him a top dude.
We do got to shift gears to AEW, of course, where you mentioned whatchamacallit, Adam. We talked about Adam Cole. Adam Cole's wife is essentially doing the Chris Jericho gimmick, you know, having a little feud with Aubrey Edwards. You know, you also kind of have you know, the like pretty much the debut of FTR happening tonight. But I kind of wanted to get your guys' thoughts on Inner Circle, because there's been a lot of speculation with what's been going on with them and what they may potentially do. You know, one week Chris Jericho's on commentary as a face, and next week he's a heel against Mike Tyson. One week Sammy Guevara is basically a chicken shit heel. And next there's basically some, like, Matt Hardy basically gives him the stamp of approval. Where do you see Inner Circle going from here? Just a quick aside. Where do you see them going?
I don't know. To be honest with you, I really don't know. Cause
Confusing.
like, and they wrote themselves into a corner. And I hate to keep saying this, but AEW has had a terrible habit of writing themselves into a corner. Because, you know, some of these wrestlers do book themselves, if you're not part of the Elite, or Chris Jericho. They write themselves creatively into a corner because you've exhausted, at this point, everything you can exhaust at this point for the Inner Circle. And I honestly don't know what they're going to do with themselves. I mean, this feud with Tyson is just, I don't know what it is.
Answer.
I mean, I know what it is. It's fan service. But at the same time, it's just like, you got the Big Hurt and Jake Hager. You know, Santana and Ortiz should be going for the tag team titles for sure.
Yeah.
Sammy, if anything, should be contending for the TNT championship because it's a mid-card title. Let's call it for what it is. Against Cody. As for Jericho, like, sure, he should be contending for the world title, and he should, because right now, I mean, that's another story. You don't know what to do with them. Like, as is right now, there should be a lot of things they should be doing. Like Santana Ortiz, despite them being part of the circle, they are good enough to be in contention for the tag team title. I don't know why that's not happening. Meanwhile, you got the Bucks. Again, that's just another story. But I'm gonna tag you in, partner. I'm gonna tag you in, man. Because right now, man.
Because right now, I'm gonna just pick up. I'm gonna just pick up right where you left off.
They pissed me off.
Yo, let me tell you something. I was a firm believer in the Inner Circle. I love the idea of the Inner Circle. When this first happened, Jericho needed a stable at the time. He was fine by himself, but the fact that they put Santana and Ortiz and then Jake Hager in the mix and Sammy Guevara, it just made sense. Now it's like, okay, we're so cool, we don't have to do anything. And it doesn't make sense to me.
What's their purpose, bro? What's their purpose?
That's my point. Their purpose when they first started, when they first got together, their purpose was to protect Jericho at all costs when he was champion. That was their purpose. And they served that purpose. Now, Jericho dropped the title, didn't get his rematch, by the way, and Santana and Ortiz still haven't contended for a tag title. Sammy Guevara, you know, he gets into these, you know, funny antics, getting ran over by a golf cart, getting ran over by this, getting ran over by that. You know, one day he's got a boot on, next day he's on crutches. It's like now you're taking the Inner Circle, who was supposed to be this. I don't want to compare it to them, but this modern day kind of evolution kind of thing. They were supposed to be like them, and now it's just like they're a joke. All of them, including Jericho. And I hate to say it, because Jericho reinvented himself, and I feel like this is the best version of Jericho that we've gotten in AEW. You know, side note, New Japan Pro is starting to have matches soon again, I think on the 15th of this month. So hopefully we start to see maybe a pairing with AEW and New Japan Pro. Hopefully that brings in another dynamic. But
They
as
might
far as
need
the they need it bad. They need something. I forgot that John Moxley was still the IWGP United States champion.
He forgot
that
he was the
that's
IWGP.
yes. He forgot. You see your face right now? You're shocked. I was shocked. I had to look it up.
I'm not shocked. I'm not
I
shocked
thought Jay White took it. I'm not gonna hold you. I thought Jay White
forgot.
took it. And then again, I realized Jay White's champ. So I'm like, I fucked up and I forgot about that.
He is a 2-time IWGP United States champion. So, but going back to the Inner Circle thing, Inner Circle, they need something. If it's somebody getting kicked out of the group to start a dynamic story within the Inner Circle, that's fine. This whole Tyson Angle thing, I felt like they should have done that for Double or Nothing, if anything, because that was the time to do it. That was the time to do it. You're going to Vegas or wherever you had it at. You know, at the time it was supposed to be Vegas. You know, that would have been your gimmick match. That would have been perfect for that. Now it's just you're doing this because of ratings. You're doing this because you want to. And it's booking you into a corner to the point where nobody's going to be interested in watching this aspect of AEW anymore.
Hey, yo, E, who are they turning to? Who are they booking like? Who?
Listen, I feel like every time I watch AEW, I'm looking at, like, Raw from, like, the 2010s. Early 2010s.
Thank you.
I'm not even going to hold it.
Thank you.
I will say this in regards to the, you know, Jericho within the Inner Circle. I feel like every other, like, if there's a 3-year span, one out of those 3 years, he has these, like, time periods where he's just doing nothing, where he's just like, he's there, he's doing promos, like he's making moments, but it's not, you know, progressing personally towards, you know, his story arc. I think, you know, it was kind of like 2004, he had that time period where he was just like, I'm here. It was like 04, 05 before Cena came on. He was just the highlight reel guy. Now he's, I believe in 2008, prior to the Shawn Michaels feud, it was a similar situation. And, you know, fast forward to now, he's doing commentary. He's, you know, like, and he's been unbiased on commentary. And, you know,
And that shouldn't be.
The Inner Circle, the Circle Bunch. You know, that's the thing. You don't know where exactly, like, the focus is on. And to your point, you know, they may need to do some refreshing. Again, we've heard some remnants of Sammy Guevara potential, like them turning on Sammy. Who knows? We shall see.
That's the reason why I brought up the New Japan thing, because if they eventually do a New Japan thing where they bring in stars from New Japan Pro Wrestling, and then you can also get Jericho's character in there from New Japan. They need something. I mean, I'm not shitting on AEW whatsoever. I love AEW. I want to see them succeed. But the way that they've been booking and writing half of their, not even half, all of their storylines, it's just, Gene is loving this right now. Gene is loving this because he knows I'm such an advocate for AEW. And
Can
to
we get an
hear me
AEW
shit on
taping
them,
in Japan, please?
that would be lovely. That's what I'm saying. Like,
yeah.
And then, you know what? I'll even throw in ROH in there because ROH is just going down the tubes as well.
No, they're bleeding.
All three of them. All
company
three of them just need to get together. All three of them need to get together. This is exactly why I feel like Marty Scurll hasn't joined AEW yet, because there's just nothing for him. He's going to be another member in the Elite.
I mean, you said it yourself. Like, AEW
doing well in NWA Power right now. He's doing.
They've been booking on.
He should went to FTR. Should have went to NWA.
I think.
I agree.
We agreed. We got to table this, and you know, me and Gene, we're just gonna make him. We're just gonna even make him even happier because we now talk about SmackDown. We got the IC Championship Finals.
Oh yeah.
And what? Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Let's talk about it. Let's talk about it.
Oh yeah.
I'll talk about it. First, I want to say F you to Brie Bella because she spoiled who the winner is going to be of that match.
Oh, don't tell me.
I was really excited for that. I'm not going to do it for those who haven't seen it. I'm not going to tell you what
yeah, you better not with your bright ass undisclosed location.
I'm not. I promise. But screw that bitch, because I was really excited for this, man. 2 weeks of building, I was ready. Son.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot of women coming
to watch this classic. I know we know it's going to be a classic. Somebody was talking about, I was telling me, contemplating about how this match could go. I said, look, this is going to be a straight up wrestling match. There will be no shenanigans. There will be no DQ. There will be no count out because neither one of them is in a feud with somebody that's going to cause them problems. Neither one of them has any reason to do a DQ count out. This for like this whole thing to continue. We're going to crown a new Intercontinental Champion, and this is going to be fun to watch. I can't wait to see this tournament. Also can't wait to see Matt Riddle show up on SmackDown. Very happy we got him. He's going to be a good addition. I know Goldberg's probably not happy about that because now Riddle's more closer to getting him now than he was the year prior. But
he's on the show that he last was seen on. So
yeah, exactly. So Goldberg, watch your ass out because we don't need you, but we definitely need Matt Riddle right now. So Brock. I can't wait to see him eventually fight Brock Lesnar. I think that's going to be a beautiful match. I cannot wait to see that coming. That's going to be years down the line. I know Brock Lesnar hates, not a huge fan of Riddle right now because Riddle said he wants to retire Brock Lesnar. And let's be honest, if even us looking at it like if you were a wrestler and you're in your like Brock Lesnar, you could argue is in like I'm not saying he's like in his prime, but he's like ready to go. Like this guy could pop off a 4 to 5 star match if need be, obviously with the right opponent. But and then you hear somebody some new dude coming out saying, "Yeah, I'm gonna retire you. I'm the guy to retire you." You're thinking to yourself, I mean,
whose man is this?
I know I'm 40 something, but I'm not that old. Like I can still kick anybody's ass on this roster. So I know Brock was probably a little iffy on that.
60.
I know, right? But we'll eventually get this match because it has to happen. And it's gonna be a beautiful performance. But I can't wait for that.
I don't even think I would want to think about what's gonna happen. So because there's gonna be a segment where Brock Lesnar, if they book that, there's gonna be a segment where Brock is gonna be like, okay, I just want to do the run in, Paul Heyman, you know, he speaks, and then I come in, German suplex. Then he's just gonna go freaking stiff everything, like he's going in.
I mean, Matt Riddle honestly would welcome.
He's hopping over the ring without touching it. Like he going ape shit on his ass. Like
he would welcome it. Okay, those two I know would beat the living crap out of each other, and we would all love it. We would all love it, so.
Man. You don't understand. Brock Lesnar was Sin Cara in 2011. He was under the mask.
Man, dude. He
it wasn't Luis Alverda. It wasn't Mystic. It was Brock. That's why it took a while with 2012. He had to bulk up a little bit. That's why he botched. But he could fly over that rope. Say that right now.
He's just never going to do a shooting star ever again. So
Brock Lesnar is the only person that could do a plancha from the floor into the ring.
Yeah.
That man he do the taker dive in reverse.
I'm telling you, he was so good. I love that man. I love that man, Brock. Man.
We gotta get to predictions. We gotta get to predictions.